Hello, my name is Kendra Rose Law, and today I'm going to talk about the key concepts of the Great Transformation in the Middle East, as well as the changes brought on by the Industrial Revolution. Initially, the revolution spread from Britain to Europe and made its way to the Middle East. This brought a lot of changes to the way that civilians survived. I want to first talk about how people lived before the Industrial Revolution and the Great Transformation. So, before the revolution, citizens did not have the right to own land, so they actually lived on the king or the church's land. So this meant they had their own agriculture and few animals to themselves. They had to tend to their own gardens and take care of their own animals. We didn't see mass production of agriculture yet because the Industrial Revolution hadn't happened. This falls into the next aspect of how people survived, which is reciprocity. People shared and used their own land to create agriculture and take care of their animals. They shared with the community. Lastly was redistribution. This is when the king or leader would tax the citizens, basically, which meant they had to give up a little bit of what they had made on their own. So whether it be agriculture or animals. And when this happened, people tried to, stock up and make sure that they had enough food for their own and when famine came around. So this is before the Industrial Revolution. Now I'm going to get into what it was like after and the three elements that were big changes to how people lived. Now, after the Industrial Revolution, people had land, money, and labor. And I will discuss what I mean by that. What this means is that people now had facetious commodities. This is a term used in the Great Transformation book by Carl Poloni. So basically, it meant that people could own their own land now because, like I said previously, people lived on the land of the king. So now people could go and purchase their own land for themselves. The next is labor. There wasn't really a workforce organized, and people pretty much worked for themselves. They had to tend to their animals and their garden and fix up their own houses. So it wasn't really, a thing to have a set job. So with the Industrial Revolution, brought on a lot of jobs and, created reasons to travel. And this leads into my next aspect, which is money. Money was a thing, obviously, but it wasn't really used how we use it nowadays. Mainly coins were used for the taxes that the king would bring on. But with these new jobs, actually poverty became a concept, and poverty wasn't really a thing in these small villages across the Middle East, but they traded and they trusted each other, so they didn't really use money as a big aspect. So now that there's jobs, poverty becomes a thing, and people are fluctuating in classes. Now I want to talk about the key motives and concepts of the Great Transformation by analyzing a few primary sources. The first document that really caught my eye and I feel like gave a really good view onto what Muslims wanted through this revolution was when we were talking about modernity. We went over a document by Qasim Amin, and he created the Emancipation of Woman and New Woman document. Even though this document isn't a part of the Great Transformation documents, I feel like it was important to mention because of these next statements. Amin stated that, "Why should a Muslim believe that traditions cannot be changed or replaced by new ones? And is it that of his duty to preserve them forever? Why does he drag his beliefs onto his work, even though he and his traditions are part of the universe, falling at all times under the law of change?" Lastly, I'm going to talk about the Great Transformation documents. While analyzing them, I made a few conclusions. My conclusions were that the main reason for this Industrial Revolution by Britain and Europe was that they wanted to gain control of trade and exportation. They wanted those materials, they wanted those resources that were in the Middle East. So sadly, the Middle East became a victim of colonization and also capitalism. Thank you for listening. This is my analysis of the Great Transformation of the Middle East.